I think if I was awarding MVP right now, I think Giannis is the best player on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would still give MVP to Luka, given the way that the Mavericks have started this season.
Yeah.
I know that the Bucks have the best record in the league. Giannis has been a superhuman and a cyborg all rolled into one, but I can't get past like the Michael Jordan act that Luka Doncic is putting together so far.
Yeah, he's 34.8, 8 and 8. He's almost 50% from the field. He's shooting 70% in the restricted area this year. It's just absurd. 51 of 81 in the restricted area this year. He's number 1 in free throw attempts in the league. The Mavs are a plus 5.2 and he's on the court. 43% usage rate is where it's just, I mean, I don't even know what to do with that. And I look at it, and some years we've had stuff like this with James Harden. We've had some stuff like this with Russell Westbrook, and you can look at the team and say, well, like Victor Oladipo should probably have the ball a little bit more, like things. But you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's correct. Like that's the correct number for Luka Doncic. He's that good. He's first in win shares, first in box score plus minus, first in VORP, first in assist percentage in the league. He's the guy. Like if we're talking about the most valuable player, the player that brings the most value, however you want to define value, like it's been Luka. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, so I just want to compare Luka Doncic at 23 years old to Michael Jordan at 23 years old. This was Luka's 5th year. This is Luka's 5th year. This was Michael Jordan's 3rd year.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's 3rd year is like, honestly, like there's a real case that he peaked offensively in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
Like it was that mix of just like unbelievable athleticism, like just superhuman athleticism, getting to the foul line at an ungodly rate, defensive ability just off the charts. So Michael Jordan played every game that year, played 40 minutes per game, 37 points on 11.9 free throws per game. 48% from the field, 85% from the line, had a true shooting percentage that was 6 points better than league average, 4 points better than league average. Free throw percentage, 12% better than league average. Luka Doncic right now, 35 points per game, 49.8 field goal percentage, getting to the line 11.2 times per game in 37 minutes per night. The 8 rebounds and 8 assists, which is a little bit different than what Jordan did. Mm-hmm. But in terms of scoring, 6% better than, or 6 percentage points above league average in terms of true shooting percentage, right around league average in terms of free throw percentage. This is like a genuine comparison. Yeah. Right now.
And Luka's leaving stuff on the table because he's not shooting the 3 ball well yet.
Yes. Right. Like, and they're both like mid-range assassins that lived at the foul line at this point. Like, look, you couldn't find 2 players that do it differently aesthetically than Luka Doncic and Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. But like the end results here are pretty similar through this early stage of the season. And we'll see if Luka continues this. We're through 12 games or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, this is where we're at with Luka. Like these are the comparison points that are genuine and real, and we need to discuss him as such. And because of that, he is carrying the Dallas Mavericks, who are only 10 games through their season, into a real, potential playoff berth when this team around him is just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, they've gathered together some good 3-and-D players, which you need. They definitely are missing a Jalen Brunson type of player. Like they need another ball handler if they're going to have success in the playoffs. This is super fun in the regular season. Like Dinwiddie shooting great from the corner, hadn't taken a ton of attempts. Josh Green is a story that I don't hear a lot. Great on defense, 53% from the corners this year. He's been legitimately very good for them. And a guy that a year ago, I sat down with Tim Cato in Oklahoma City. And we were talking about what a waste of a draft pick Josh Green was. And we're discussing all the other players they could have had. And Josh Green last year in OKC when he played was very bad. It was just a bad player. Yeah. And this year he is different. He's changed. So like credit to the Mavericks and to Josh Green for developing. And, Luka is learning how to use him. And then Dorian Finney-Smith is awesome. He's 44% for the corners. THJ is back. He's 38% for the corners. Having those players, that's great. Like, you need those guys, but they're missing somebody. And maybe Jalen Brunson ultimately wasn't going to be the right guy to be there. And so maybe they made the right choice. We have to remember Luka's 23. He's not 26. He's not 27. Like, we are still in pre-prime age, and he's doing this. So we're still pretty far away from like the best version of Luka Doncic if all things work out. And maybe the Mavs are doing the right thing by letting Luka just do this for a year, and maybe they do find the right running mate for him later on. It's just right now people look at it and say, well, they're kind of wasting some years with Luka, but I don't know. This is kind of fun for me. I kind of like watching him using almost all their possessions. I kind of love it.
I'm having an absolute blast. Watching Luka. I hate watching the team. Like, I don't love watching the Mavericks, to be honest. But I love watching Luka. He's incredibly fun. The other guy that's having like peak year so far is Giannis. Giannis is at 32 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. He's just like a world destroyer. There's not really another way to describe it. Like, he's so physically imposing. He's the most dominant player in the league. And then on top of it, he's one of the best defenders in the world. Like, you can parse through Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo, Giannis, OG Anunoby, I think has been phenomenal to start the year.
Sure.
Like, a number of guys you can parse through. Giannis is on the list in terms of the best defenders in the world. Rudy Gobert, I don't want angry Utah fans that are still Gobert fans to yell at me about the Gobert era in Utah. But it's just remarkable how he keeps getting better. Like, he's continuing to add little mid-range game. Like, he's continuing to figure out little tricks of the trade to be able to get to his spots. Like, he's phenomenal. He is to me, there is a clear top 2 in MVP, and it's Luka and Giannis. I think there's a clear number 3. I think that I would have a clear number 4, but I'd be willing to hear arguments. And then the rest of it is kind of all over the place. But those 2 at the top are the order 1 and 2 in some order, I think, so far.
Yeah, I think Luka, just his individual dominance and just the way that the Bucks have dominated without Chris Middleton there. Yeah, they definitely miss him offensively. Their offense is clunky at times, but the way that their defense has performed and they just get enough offense, they're absolutely dominant. And I've seen the Bucks play twice without Giannis, and the defense that's in place with the Bucks already is just like outrageous. But Brook Lopez looks like Brook Lopez from 5 years ago on defense.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's been unreal. But Giannis, he's shooting 77% in the restricted area so far this season. He shot 105 shots in the restricted area this year. It's second only to Zion, who Will Guillory described as like an expert dart thrower when it comes to his his shot chart. I think he's unstoppable. I think that we are now starting to see prime Giannis, which is scary for the NBA because I think he's far and away the best player in the league, and he doesn't even have a jumper yet. Like, I still think it's a work in progress. He's 26% on his mid-range jumpers this year. That would be that's 26%. That's the worst of anybody that's taken 30 or more mid-range jumpers this year. So like, he's still working on that.
Them. Like, that's the thing. Like,
I love it. Like, they're 10-1.
Yeah.
And he can figure out his game while being 10-1. Like, that's what's terrifying, is that the Bucks are that good that he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to try to figure this out. You guys do your thing. I'm going to take 3 or 4 mid-range shots a game and try to get this polished. And then by the time I'm 28, no one can stop me.
I thought this was a really interesting question that someone posed on Twitter. Who do you think does the best job of guarding Giannis in the NBA?
Oh, man. You know,
it's like an impossible job. Impossible job.
No, it's impossible. You have to have length and athleticism to do it. You know who did a great job the other night was Onyeka Okongwu. Was
honestly that's like a top 5 answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was so good the other night on Giannis just because he brings like this ferocity to the game that not many guys do.
Yeah.
And in like this like really rangy but athletic like body. And most guys try to meet him
Yeah.
at the rim with somebody big who's a little bit slower. And so Okongwu was not as big, but he kind of brings that.
You need like I think that the thing more than anything you need is the strength and the ability to withstand contact.
Yeah.
Like the
Can you take a
ability to
hammer
like
to the face 100
yes,
times
can
a
you
game?
can you take a Steven Adams kick to the balls
Yeah.
and stand?
Yeah.
Like that is it right now.
Mhm.
I think Onyeka does a really good job. I think Bam Adebayo does a good job, like
Mhm.
for as good as someone can do.
Yeah.
Um,
Rob
it's
Williams
hard.
whenever he's healthy does a pretty good
Rob
job.
Williams does a pretty good job. Yeah. They like do such a good job of like swarming him a
Mhm.
lot of the time.
That's what you have to do. It's not you
Yeah,
can if you're
totally.
trying to do it one-on-one, you're toast.
Yeah, 100%. Um, those are the guys that like immediately jump off the page to me though.
Yeah.
Like Pascal Siakam, like God love him, like they try and run that out sometimes. And like you would think Pascal works, but he's just like a little bit too thin
Mhm.
to do it. Like OG isn't quite big enough, it feels like. He has a
Yeah.
chance to be big enough like maybe next year. And he's looked really, really good defensively. Like he honestly, like I think that Brook Lopez and OG Anunoby so far and Giannis would probably be my 3 defensive player of the year guys
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. For me it's
If you made me
Brooke.
pick. Yeah.
Brooke he's outrageous, man. Like we did so for Saturday Slam and Jam, we did the wheel of fandom landed on the Bucks for last week, and I just watched a bunch of Bucks and read all about it, and it's like, man, like Giannis kind of has it made a little bit with this team defensively because he can literally roam and do whatever he wants or whatever he sees fit, and he usually does the right thing because they have this ready-made defense of like skeleton that's just already there. And it's just
Well, you
like,
know
yeah,
what the
you can just go
crazy
do your thing, Giannis. Yeah.
that's almost why I thought that like his best defensive year was last year
Mm-hmm.
when Brooke was
Brooke was
out
out.
for 70 games or whatever. And he had to
100%.
like hold their defense up on his shoulders like he is
Yep.
Atlas.
Yep.
And he did it. And he was like their primary rim protector. It was
Yep.
unbelievable, I thought,
Yep.
what he did
Mhm.
defensively last year. But let's move on to the guy that I think is clearly number 3. And then we'll talk about some of the other players that have been incredible to start the year. I think Jason Tatum would be very clearly number 3 right now.
Yeah.
All due respect to Donovan Mitchell, John Morant, Damian Lillard is another really, really good example. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been great so far this year. He'd be in my top 10. I don't know if I'd have him top 5 necessarily, but like there's a lot of guys that you can point to. Devin Booker, whoever, right? Jason Tatum, I think, would clearly be number 3 right now. He is averaging 31, 7, and 4 on 50, 38, 88. He's carrying every lineup that he's in right now. Jaylen Brown's been great, but like the level to which Jason Tatum is like a different beast when he's out there for the Boston Celtics is just so real. Like he's generating pull-up 3-pointers at a rate that we haven't seen previously from him. He is dominating the game on both ends of the court. I think he's been really, really good defensively, taking another step forward there. This is the best offense in the league so far, along with Dallas. It's just a remarkable start from Jason Tatum.
Yeah. It's 24 too. Just like, how is this guy 24? You watch the way that the game has slowed down for him this year and the way that he surveys the floor and he's finding his teammates. It really is different. Like there's something different about him. You can tell that he was really focused in the offseason on just becoming a better basketball player. Not that he needed to become like a much better basketball player, but he did. Like he did that. And he has
go ahead.
Yeah,
like you bring up like the patience almost, right? Like it's the patience to like kind of hold his ground in the mid range and like keep his dribble alive. The other thing that has really helped, it's definitely helped his passing. 100% agree with you. It's helped his ability to get to the foul line. He's averaging 9 free throw attempts per game. If you remember when Tatum came into the league, like part of the issue was, like can he actually get consistent penetration, or is he gonna have to live off of these like catch and shoot 3-pointers and mid-range, gunner type shots? But now, because he's strong and has those enormous shoulders and can hold his ground and is very patient, he has that ability to just like get defenders just slightly off their balance and slightly off their axis and then go up and draw a foul.
Yeah, he's 5th in free throw attempts,
Yeah.
total free throw attempts in the league this year, which like that's the sign of a star.
Yeah.
The guys who get to the line, those are the stars. And Tatum is one of the best in the league. He's been great. My biggest knock on him is that stupid Karl Malone dunk. Like, don't do that, bro. I don't like that. That's not cool.
We don't like Karl Malone on this podcast.
Don't remind me of Karl Malone. You remind me of Karl Malone, you're out of the top level of MVP. That's why he's been knocked down.
I also like Karl Malone. Like, wasn't even like a cool.
He's
like,
not
dunker.
cool. Yes. Why would you do that? That's what I don't get. Like, shout out to Karl Malone. Why are you giving a shout out to Karl Malone in 2022, Jason Tatum? Like, give me the D Brown. Give me something else. Don't do that.
Yeah, we don't got to do that. Jason Tatum has been incredible this year. I've seen some MVP lists that like don't have him in the top 5, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
31, 7, and 4 is enough to get you on the top 5 list. I mean, it's insane what he's done so far this season.
For the second best team in the East, like third best team in the league. It's very clear. Who is I guess the guy that comes up next to me, I would have Donovan Mitchell at 4 right now. Yeah. Would he be like clear for you at 4?
He's been awesome. I don't know what it is about. I just love Ja. And I think what he's done with this team, and they're younger this year, and he's having to carry a little bit more of the load, and he can't rely on some of the other vets that were going to be out there with him like they were last year. And he's still carrying this team. They're 8-4. He's 28, 5 and 7, 48, 45 from 3 and 80% from the line. The Grizzlies are plus 15 when he's on the court. Yeah. Of all the guys that we're talking about, nobody else has a number that high. Yeah. So like that really stuck out to me, and just how relentless he is. And I watch all the Thunder games, and I watch all of Shea, and switching over to watching Ja is just like it's watching a different sport almost. Just the way that those guys play is unbelievable. He's so explosive. Like Shea is like, I'm gonna slither around and like make space that isn't there, and Ja is, I'm going to bulldoze you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And
but it's like not great. Even it's not like Giannis bulldozer. It's like this incredibly like balletically explosive bulldozer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to really describe it.
It's a lot of hair. There's a lot of hair this year, a whole lot of hair. And I like it. I like it a lot.
I do too. Ja would be 6 for me right now. Okay. And he's like kind of right in this tier. Mm-hmm. I had Donovan at 4. I think Donovan has just been so remarkable to start the year in terms of his scoring efficiency. He's averaging 32 on 51, 45, 86. He's taken really, really well to playing with Darius Garland. He has carried the team in the 6 games that Darius Garland has missed. He has been his ability to kind of transition into playing both on and off ball at times has been just such a critical cog for the Cleveland Cavaliers at this point. Yep. But like most of the time he's on the ball and he's just absolutely fucking dominating. Like there's just not another way to put it.
Killing it. He's got great teammates, and they certainly are helping him, especially with screening and stuff like that. But he still takes some pretty friggin' difficult shots out of ISO. Totally. And he's 1.25 points per possession in isolation so far this season, which is just absurd. And then as a pick and roll ball handler, 1.13 points per possession, which is pretty nuts. I mean, he's been really, really good for the Cavs. It's been great to see, just because he, a lot of people were like, I don't know if it's worth it for the Knicks to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And like, if you're watching this guy, like, it'd probably be worth it for the Knicks to have a guy like this. He's pretty good.
Yeah. I was like a little bit questionable on that.
Mm-hmm.
I have some regrets on those takes.
Yeah. He's been unbelievable. And I don't know if just some of it could just be like he's having a really hot start and he's going to cool off a little bit. And then some of it could just be that, man, we all know as people, when you're not in the best situation for you, like mentally, you can't be the best version of yourself. And there was a lot of that going on in Utah last year. And getting to a new situation that feels fresh, those guys love playing for their coach. They love playing for each other. It's evident. And that's really, I mean, honestly, it's just these human things that happen to NBA players that we don't really consider. Like that could be why this boost is here. But man, just looking at like the raw numbers of some of these guys, like we haven't even talked about Devin Booker, who's 27, 4 and 5, and
Yeah.
the same patience stuff that we talked about with Tatum is there with Booker too, and he's been outrageous. And like Jokic, who we won't probably give much time to just because his numbers just aren't as eye popping as they were last year, at least so far. Like he's like the ultimate guy of
he has somehow
like
had like
of patience.
Yeah, like he has somehow had more highlight level moments playing with like Jamal and Michael again.
Yeah.
But has been less like dominant, I guess it feels like, maybe is the way to put it.
He like almost doesn't have to. I watched him in OKC a few weeks ago, and he like at halftime he took one shot.
Yeah.
And like
and let me be clear here.
Killing people.
Nikola Jokic is averaging 21, 10, and 9 to start the year. Like
That's
he's been
good.
unbelievable. He's shooting 60% from the field, 88% from the line on 6 free throw attempts per game. Like he's been great.
He's unbelievable. Yeah.
He is definitely a top 10 MVP candidate.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if he's quite in the ballpark of some of these other guys just because of how good the other guys have been.
Yeah.
The last guy that I feel like we have to bring up is the guy I would have at 5, which is Damian Lillard. His just sheer presence has completely altered this Portland Trailblazers team. Yeah, he's averaging like 29 points per game, and he's been phenomenal across the board. 40% from 3 on 10 3-point attempts per game, 48% from the field. Like there's just 66 true shooting percentage. Like his true shooting percentage is 16% better than league average right now, which is just absolutely bonkers. Just completely crazy. Completely crazy.
Yeah. In ISO, he's 1.39 points per possession, which is that makes no sense. Like you shouldn't be able to do that out of isolation. Like you just give it to Dame every time. And the difference that he's made with this team, like you said, just culturally and what they've built, there were way more skeptics than believers, even in Portland. People that covered the team are like, yeah, maybe they make the play-in. And maybe that still could be the case, but they're 8-3 so far, and they've played some tough teams. They beat Phoenix twice. Phoenix is good. This is a good Blazers team that looks well coached. They play great defense. They play the right way offensively, and Dame is the reason why. And Dame could have probably played through a little bit more of this injury stuff that he's dealt with, and he's taking a slower approach to it, which I think is the right thing. Like there's just some like more maturity happening with this team that I think will pay dividends, in April and May, hopefully.
Yeah.